Well, hello, welcome to Week 4 NFL preview show for the Seattle Seahawks right here on Zach Talks Hawks. My name is Zach. Here we talk everything Seattle Seahawks football, and today we're going to go over our Week 4 overview of Monday Night Football. Seattle going to Detroit to face the Lions in their new all blackout uniforms, and we're going to talk predictions. Look, here we're gonna make a quick little edit right here on the fly, because that's gonna drive me nuts this whole video. Here we go. We we were 5-11. Oh, so bad. We were 5-11 last week. Yes, I can't believe that has happened, but we're going to take a look at the week to come. A new opportunity for us to get right. And we'll talk all things week 4 NFL football as the show goes on. But we do have a game to preview, and it is Monday Night Football. Yes, Mike McDonald, Seattle Seahawks hit the primetime stage at 3-0, traveling across the country to the Detroit Lions. And there in stadium, they're going to be unveiling their all new blacked out uniforms, and Jared Goff and company looking to get right against a really competitive NFC North now, with Minnesota being 3-0. I think Detroit and Green Bay are taking a bit aback. They all thought that perhaps this was going to be a two-horse race, and now they have to compete with Minnesota as well as fight amongst themselves for the division crown. Both these teams have a lot to play for this week. I think that Seattle is really just in truest Seattle form, going under the radar. They are the least talked about 3-0 team, I think, in NFL history. Fact of the matter is, you have to play who's in front of you, and that's exactly what Seattle has done all season long. Yes, their quality of opponents have been equivalent to the Sun Belt, and they are abysmal out there, and yet Seattle does their job. The defense works hard, the offense finds a way, and they sit atop the NFC West with a 2-game lead on every single team in that division, sitting at 3-0, and everybody's rebuttal to this team is, who have you beaten? And that's fair. That's fair. A rookie Bo Nix, a Patriot team where only their defense is really of note, and Skylar Thompson as Tua got injured for the Miami Dolphins. So what's ahead for Seattle this week? Well, taking a look here at the spread is not really confident in either team. It's a toss-up. And that makes sense because historically these two franchises throw their defenses in the garbage and just always have old-fashioned crazy shootouts with one another when it comes to their matchups. Offenses score a lot of points. These teams don't ever hold back, and normally it's this crazy affair that leads to an awesome game, and more times than not, especially in the last 3 years, Seattle wins. So I'm not going to complain. And the spread for this game is 3.5, and it's favoring Detroit right now. And I think that is a pretty practical money line in a matchup historically where defenses sit at home. It's good to just assume that there's just going to be scoring every drive or most every drive, and you're going to wind up with a close, high-scoring affair. The over-under is 46.5 this game, which I think is if you're going off of old trends, pretty low. But I have to confess something. I think this will be a very different game than many of us have seen Seattle take in prime time against the Detroit Lions in a handful of years. This ain't your mama's Seahawks anymore. It's Mike McDonald's Seahawks. And we don't know what this team looks like in prime time. We simply don't. And with their injuries now on the defensive front, with Byron Murphy and Big Cat Williams getting hurt, they're really thin up front now. There are murmurs that Uchenna Nwosu's coming back. That would be huge for that group. And there are other murmurs that Kenneth Walker is going to come back this week. That would be huge. but we simply don't know when the bright lights shine on a Mike McDonald team what they're going to do. And I'm curious to see what that looks like against a Detroit slate that, look, Jared Goff is looking more and more turnover prone. He's kind of looking more like the end of his Los Angeles run version of Jared Goff, and not necessarily the version that got Detroit to be winners of the NFC North. Maybe he breaks out of the funk, or against this really stout Seahawks defense that has this next man up mentality, he continues to struggle. Where this game will be won and lost is the run. I think that if either team figures that out, they're going to win the football game. And to be quite frank, Detroit is more poised to do that against a Seattle squad that is injured up front defensively and has a better offensive line set than what Seattle has. Normally, at least for the first 3 games of this season, we've seen Seattle really stumble out of the gate when it comes to running the football well. It takes a long, long time. Can their passing game, their short screen swing pass game, be an extension of their run game effectively here? I don't know. Aiden Hutchinson, of course, is on the other side of the ball for Detroit. You got to watch out for him and how stout he is. He's going to be flying off the edge against, more than likely, Stone Forsythe, and we know that that is going to be an issue for Geno all night long. So short, quick passes for Seattle is going to have to be the key for their victory against Detroit. And I'm going to give my prediction here for the Monday night game first, simply because, well, that's what we're talking about, Seattle versus Detroit. And I don't have it in me to pick the Seattle Seahawks this week. It hurts me to say it, but I want to be a practical YouTuber, and I want to be honest and open to you about these matchups. I think that this matchup is too much for Seattle's weaknesses this season, which is particularly offensive line and run play. Look, we saw Zach Charbonnet really crank it up in the second half of last week's game, but that was really because the game was out of reach. They were playing a very depleted Dolphins team, and he was able to rack up a couple good runs that inflated his stats at the end of the game. This is a bad run team, and they need K9 back there to spark something in their offense. What they actually really need is for, well, a good hunk of their offensive line to get healthy and play in football games. That's what they need. But it's going to be very difficult. I think our tackles are going to get tested by Hutchinson off the edge. Detroit does a really good job at setting an edge defensively, so I don't think you're going to be able to bounce anything really outside against this team. You're going to have to go straight up the middle, and that's a portion of this run game for Seattle where they've just really struggled early in the season. And my concern for this lies squarely on our offense. I think I have all the confidence in the world that our defense is going to be able to match what Detroit hands out to us. Our defense has been playing exceptionally well, even through the injuries. McDonald's done a really good job at making sure that the next player up is put in a position where he can succeed. And I do enjoy that a lot about this team. But at the end of the day, your offense needs to score points. And against the Sun Belt for the beginning of this season, Seattle struggled. I really wanted to see Seattle put up the most points in a given week in these first 3 weeks of the season, simply because it grant me confidence to pick them in this game where they're playing a quality opponent. And I haven't seen that yet. And that's why I think also this game is not going to be like most of your other Seattle-Detroit matchups. I do think this is going to be a low-scoring game. I really do. I don't think you're going to find a shootout here. There's going to be quite a bit of punts. We know Campbell likes to go for it on fourth down. That might play into some quick points for Seattle. We don't know. But in my heart of hearts, I really do feel like Detroit's going to wind up winning this game, probably by the score of, let's do something funky. Probably by the score of 24-15. We'll do that. let's just say Seattle gets a safety for once because they're always seemingly in danger of giving up one every week now. Uh, 24-15, that sounds good. I just don't have it in me when I look at this matchup and Detroit's strengths on defense to pick Seattle. Now, if they beat the Lions, this changes the trajectory of this team massively for this season. It should be heard as a shot across the bow at San Francisco, at Los Angeles, and let them know we mean business. We're here to stay. We're 4-0. We did the first month of the season and we're undefeated and we've beat the defending NFC North champs. We're here for you. I would love to see that. I hope they prove me wrong, but I don't have it in me right now to pick them, and I hope that they grant me some confidence, especially in this offense, to trust in this team a little bit more. So, my picks for the Seattle-Detroit game, but what about all the other games for this week? We went an abysmal 5-11 for week 3 after going 9-8 the first 2 weeks of the season. That puts our record up at 23-25. At the end of the day, this is a new week, so we're ready to go. We're going to wipe the slate clean. Let's start talking football. Thursday night, tonight, Detroit faces the New York Giants in what a lot of people have been hyping up as a revenge game for the Giants after their blowout curb stomp last year by the Dallas Cowboys, really sort of dethroning their season before it ever began. And I don't think this is going to be an opportunity for Daniel Jones to exact revenge. I have way more confidence in Dallas's weapons. Strangely enough, their coaching, I would call it more of a draw between Daboll and Mike McCarthy. I just have more confidence in the weapons that Dallas has. I got to think they put it together for this game. Picking Dallas for Thursday Night Football. Transitioning over to the Sunday games, taking a look here, New Orleans goes to the Atlanta Falcons in what looked to be sort of a battle of the juggernauts here just 2 weeks ago. But now both these teams have sort of come back down to earth. Atlanta has their heartbreak this past week as they took on Kansas City and the referees robbed them. We all know that. So they're going to look out for revenge against their rival here at home. I'm picking Atlanta to beat the New Orleans Saints. I think it's going to be a close game, though. I wouldn't be surprised if they're going to need another Kirk Cousins game-winning drive to make it happen. Picking Atlanta, though. Cincinnati goes on the road and goes to Carolina, where they'll see an old friend. Yes, the Red Rifle, Andy Dalton, lighting it up for the Carolina Panthers last week. That is crazy. Over 300 yards and 3 touchdowns, and he performed exceptionally well for this team last week. Carolina looks like a totally new creature with Dalton at the helm. I feel bad for Bryce Young. I really wanted to say it's not him that's the problem, but it might just be. So Andy Dalton takes the helm here at Carolina. They got Cincinnati coming to town, who is just beaten, battered, and bruised through the first 3 weeks of the season. A lot of people are sounding the alarm that Cincy's season might be over. I think they fight for it this week. I really do. I think Cincinnati, in a game that's going to be a lot closer than what a lot of people think, is going to gut out a win against the Carolina Panthers. The Los Angeles Rams had a wild comeback win last week against the 49ers, playing the Chicago Bears at home, who are struggling with their number 1 pick, Caleb Williams. Look, Caleb has not looked great, but also not a lot of other rookie quarterbacks have looked great. Jaden Daniels looked fantastic for Washington, but other than that, it's sort of just been a meh year to be a rookie quarterback in the NFL, and I think that sort of brings us back down to reality. These are kids trying to figure it out in a man's league, and I think I believe in Matthew Stafford and the weapons. What, like two of them that are still left that are healthy on the Rams. I believe in them more than I do the coaching and rookie quarterback play of the Bears. I think the Bears are going to keep the Rams close within striking distance. I don't think there's going to be a lot of points scored in this game, but ultimately the Rams, more talent, they're going to come out on top. Then what I would call, if Seattle and Detroit wasn't a thing, the game of the week. Because I do think Seattle and Detroit on Monday Night Football is the game of the week. But this one's close. Minnesota, the Sam Darnolds travel to Green Bay to play the Packers in what could be a franchise defining moment for the Minnesota Vikings. When the world counted them out, they brought Sam Darnold, and now they're 3-0, flying through the season, shattering expectations, crushed the Houston Texans last week. Wouldn't it be something if the Minnesota Vikings walk into Lambeau and punch Green Bay in the mouth? Man, that would be a story I would pay to see, because it's not happening this week. Yep, I think Green Bay is going to win this one at Lambeau. Home field advantage is just a big thing over there in Green Bay, and there it seems that Jordan Love is probably coming back for this week, which if you're a Minnesota fan, that's like your worst nightmare. You would have done anything to play Malik Willis, get a win against Green Bay, go up 4-0 in the division. That'd be wild, but it does look like Love is going to come back and play, and for that reason, I'm picking Green Bay to beat the Vikings. The dumpster fire of what is the Jacksonville Jaguars now travel to a ticked off Houston Texans club who got clobbered by the Vikings last week. Look, I don't know what's going on in Jacksonville other than they have a terrible, terrible, terrible situation. They just paid Trevor Lawrence a butt ton of money, and he ain't going anywhere. And then you got a head coach who's stubborn in his ways because he's won a Super Bowl, and the defense doesn't look good. The offense doesn't have any rhythm. Your quarterback doesn't have any confidence. He's a turnover machine. Playing against a really, really good Texans team that got straight up punked last week. They're going to be angry. I wouldn't be surprised if the Houston Texans win this by like 40. It's going to be just a terrible, terrible day for Jacksonville. Houston, big this week. Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh Steelers. 3-0. Playing in Indy this week in what will be probably the hardest game to watch in the entire history of the NFL. Listen, Pittsburgh is bound and determined to make exactly 0 games this season interesting. They are defensive, and they are just going to slug it out with you all game, bound and determined to make sure that this is not a fun game to enjoy. I actually think that at this point in time, I like Pittsburgh's coaching, and surprisingly, I like their quarterback play a bit more than Anthony Richardson, who is just, man, struggling. He can make all the impossible throws, but it doesn't look like he can make any of the normal throws in the NFL. With that said, I think Indy's strength is their run game. Pittsburgh is perfect against teams like this. Pittsburgh wins this one on the road, and they're going to stay undefeated. As a Seahawks fan living in Pennsylvania, I think I just threw up in my mouth a little bit. Denver, on the road with their rookie quarterback who just got a win, going to New York to play the Jets at MetLife. Listen, the Aaron Rodgers train has just rolled off from the station. It is boogieing down the road, and I think at this point he's shaken off some rust. We saw what good, crisp Aaron Rodgers might look like under this offense last week. I don't see a scenario where Sean Payton and company whisk up a game plan to beat the Jets. I think they win this handedly. It might be by like 13 points, but I don't think this one's close. I think that the Jets wind up winning this one at home. Taking a look as well, further on down the chart, you have Philadelphia playing the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Philly won a really ugly game last week against the um, against the Saints. Yeah, against the Saints. And they play Baker Mayfield and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who won their matchup against the Broncos last week. Or no, who lost? They lost against the Broncos last week. I have my paper right here. It'd be nice to just look at it. I believe in Baker Mayfield and his offensive weaponry way more than I do Philly. There's just something about this Eagles team that I don't like. I don't think their chemistry's good. I don't think their head coach is very good. I just can't trust the Eagles right now. That's pretty much the only reason why I'm picking Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay wins this one. Arizona is at home welcoming Jaden Daniels and the Washington Commanders, who lead the NFC East. I can't believe, what world are we living in right now? Washington had a crazy primetime opportunity against the Cincinnati Bengals, and they took it by the horns. Daniels only has 2 incompletions on the night, plays phenomenal in a game that featured 0 punts, and every single like I said, every single possession ended in points for both teams, and neither team had any turnovers all night long. Playing against the Cardinals, who've been a scrappy upstart team, but they are pretty much what we think they are this season. I kind of like the Minnesota game to a lesser extent. I think Washington's just going to prove this week that they're for real. They're going to walk into that stadium, get a big road win, and ultimately come out on top with a win against the Cardinals. New England, head-to-head with the San Francisco 49ers. There's not a lot to say here. New England is okay defensively. I think they're not great offensively. In San Fran, although they are hurt, they're still the 49ers, and they should be feared, and they're at home, so that helps them out a lot. As Seahawks fans, we should be really interested in this game, just simply to see sort of where we might stack up against San Francisco. This would be a good eye test because it's a common opponent. I do pick San Francisco to get their win versus New England after the Washington beating Arizona matchup. So a couple NFC West games to take a look at if you're a Seahawks fan this week. My upset of the week happens in Los Angeles. Look, I picked against them last week, and I should have won. We are 1-2 in upsets this year, and I will die on the hill that says I should be 2-1 because the refs took away the Atlanta win against Kansas City. Kansas City has not looked great. They have been a team that has fumbled and bumbled their way through a lot of this stuff this season. And there we go. And I just simply don't think that they got what it takes to beat John Harbaugh. I think this will be a brand new test for them. Andy Reid versus Harbaugh will be a cool little matchup. I'm excited for it. And, I think that this is going to be a good game. Now, if you have the injury to the quarterback position and Easton Stick is going to play, which we're not quite sure if Herbert is playing or what he's doing, then I could see the Chargers really being in trouble. But even Stick had a couple good games last season. This might be one of it. There's something about this game that's let me know that the Chargers might win. I'm picking them in a contest where Kansas City is going to show the world they are human. Cleveland travels on the road and faces the Gardner Minshew, maybe Aiden O'Connell, Vegas Raiders. Look, the Raiders are in trouble. A lot of players made some business decisions last week, and the head coach said he'd make some business decisions and making sure some guys aren't starting for this matchup. I don't know how many players are going to find their way to the bench, but The Vegas Raiders are in big trouble. I think Cleveland sort of rights the ship. Deshaun Watson's not been great. He's not a great human being, and he's also not a great football player. So, honestly, I think that this team is going to be uh, one where they're trying their hardest to make sure that everything is working as it should, and I'm gonna pick the Browns to win this one here. I'm struggling right now with my background music. I don't know if it's playing. I don't think it is. A new setup for me here this week, so I apologize if anything is out of whack. Taking a look here with the Buffalo Bills on Sunday Night Football playing against the Baltimore Ravens. This is the only thing you need to know right now. Josh Allen is the front runner for the MVP, and the Buffalo Bills are probably the best team in the league. I'm picking Buffalo in what will be a great game, but I can't pick against Josh Allen right now. He is playing too good of football to simply just melt away in the background and be forgotten. I can't pick against Josh Allen. All right, let's reel it back in. Those are a lot of games. Monday Night Football. And it's crazy to look at the slate for Monday Night Football this week and go, wow, there's one game I really want to watch, and there's one game that I don't think I would ever willingly watch ever in my life, and that's this game. The Tennessee Titans going on the road to play the Miami Dolphins in a game that is classic. I guess somebody's got to win it. Will Levis has not looked good this season. If you are a Penn State fan like me, you know him from his collegiate days before he transferred and gained national notoriety. He's really struggling. I don't know if it's a confidence thing or a talent thing, but he is just not looked great playing against the Miami Dolphins, who we as Seahawks fans, we know who they are. We don't really know who's going to start at quarterback. It's probably Skylar Thompson, but I don't. I'm not sure who you need at quarterback to resurrect this team. I'm picking Tennessee in a really ugly game. It's not going to be a good watch at all. But the other game, Seattle versus Detroit on Monday Night Football, which we talked about at the top of the show, is going to be a lot of fun to watch. Pay attention to the channel, to the Facebook page, and the Twitter handle is now Zach Talks Hawks. I've just changed it. It's not Z Woods Racing anymore, so I got to redo the banner and everything that I just made. And I hope that you can find me on those platforms, because more than likely on Monday night you will find on this channel a live stream of Monday Night Football as I react in real time to what is going on the screen. Again, because of copyright and things like that, you won't be able to watch the game, but I'll have fun stats and stuff here on the side of the screen. In the past, I've done a couple of these, but I haven't done one in a long time, and I look forward to being able to do that with you here coming on Monday night. And if I'm not here, you know, something went wrong with the setup. But other than that, I hope this video finds you well. If you like what you see, click a video that'll pop up here eventually down here on the screen. And keep talking Hawks. My name is Zach, and on this channel, that's what we do. Have a great day, and I'll talk to you again real soon.